Okay, so get this right. We're looking into this case, and it's wild. It all starts with, like, a normal teenage argument, and it turns into a whole murder plot. It's high school drama, but, like, way, way too far.
It's crazy how fast things can, like, totally get out of hand. It starts as, like, a little fight between teenagers, totally normal, and then bam, it's something really awful.
We're talking about Vincy How. She was 15, lived in the Netherlands, and this stupid feud, cost her life, which is just, it's heavy stuff. We're going to use court transcripts, news reports, even like stuff from social media to try and put it all together.
Yeah, the stuff we found, it paints a really messed up picture. We're going to, like, learn about everyone involved, the things they did, the whole community around them.
It all went down January 14th, 2012, a Saturday. Vincy's dad, Chun Nam, he's at home, answers the door, and there's this teenager, someone he doesn't recognize, just standing there.
Seems like a normal thing, right?
Yeah.
The kid asks Vincy, she comes out to talk.
But then, just a couple minutes later, everything goes sideways. Chanam hears Vincy scream, runs back, and she's being attacked.
The attacker, he was 14, Yinwar K is his name. He's stabbing Vincy over and over, like focusing on her face, her neck.
Chanam, he tries to stop it, but he gets hurt too. It was like total chaos. Luckily, the police got there fast, arrested Yunwar, like within hours.
I mean, think about how young they all were, and it's shocking, it's brutal. But the big question is why? What would make a 14-year-old do something so horrible?
And here's where it gets complicated. To figure out why, we got to look at Vincy, her former best friend, Polly W., and Polly's boyfriend, Wesley C. It all goes back to this little argument, at a party like weeks before.
It wasn't just a random fight, though. There was like stuff going on underneath, tension, resentment, that kind of thing.
So what we've pieced together, right? It seems like Vincy got annoyed with Polly at this party, thought she was being way too flirty with Wesley, vented to some friends about it.
And word got back to Polly.
Polly, she had a reputation, for having a temper. So when she heard what Vincy was saying, she totally blew up. Started rumors about Vincy, saying nasty things online, even sending threatening texts.
Here's the thing you got to understand about, like, the laws in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Their system. It's about rehabilitation, not just punishment, especially with young offenders. This is important for, what comes next with the legal stuff.
It got so bad that Vincy's mom actually called Polly's mom, tried to, like, calm things down. It didn't work.
The really scary part is Polly started talking about wanting Vincy dead. Like, out loud, at parties, just saying it. But nobody took her seriously.
It's crazy, right? People hear this and they just think, oh, teenage drama, and they dismiss it. Did they not get how serious it was?
Yeah, that's the disturbing thing.
Yeah.
She's saying this stuff, and it's like nobody even blinked. So I got to ask, why do you think people, when they see this kind of thing, just don't do anything? Is it fear? Don't want to get involved? What is it?
Everyone else is writing it off. But Polly and Wesley, they're already scheming, planning Vincy's murder. They find this kid, Yunwar, he's desperate for attention, wants to fit in. They see him as, like, the perfect pawn.
The planning, it's creepy, man. They gave Yinwar the family's address, directions, even described the house, promised him money, said he'd be popular, all that if you did it. And, like, the night before, they're on Skype, Wesley and Yunwar. Wesley's telling them straight up, if the parents get in the way, collateral damage, doesn't matter. I mean, talk about messed up. No respect for life at all.
5 days after the attack, Vincy, she died from the injuries. The whole community was in shock, like, how could this happen here?
It was a huge deal, right? And then all these details about the plot come out, and people are furious. They want Polly, Wesley, Yinwar, they want them punished. And it starts this whole debate about how the Netherlands deals with young offenders.
Vincy's family, I mean, can you imagine that they were devastated, angry? How could anyone do this, let alone kids? They wanted, like, adult sentences, given what happened.
I get it, man. They lost their daughter, and it was so senseless. And then to think that these kids might get off easy because of their age, it's got to be tough.
So the trials, all three of them, Yinwar, Polly, Wesley, they're in juvenile detention waiting. But Yinwar's case, it was a little different.
This case was huge news, right? So the judges, they decided to have Yinwar's trial in open court. That's not normal in the Netherlands for a minor. It just shows you, like, how big this whole thing was.
Yinwar's lawyers, they argued that he wasn't totally responsible. They had, like, psych reports saying he had some kind of disorder, psychopathic traits, saying that made him easy to manipulate, especially by people like Polly and Wesley.
They also tried to say he wasn't really planning it, that it was just like a spur-of-the-moment thing and he didn't really get what he was doing. But the prosecution, they had all this evidence, the Skype messages, the fact that Yinwar tried to get other people involved. It showed he knew what he was doing.
In the end, the court, they didn't believe the defense. Guilty of murder, attempted manslaughter. And remember how we talked about the Dutch system? So Yinwar, he got the max sentence for a juvenile. 1 year in juvenile detention, then 3 years in this TBS facility.
You're probably wondering what that is, right? TBS. It's like a special hospital for criminals, but for young ones. The focus is on helping them, with psych issues and stuff.
Polly and Wesley, they had their trials too. They both said they were not guilty, that they never wanted Vincy dead.
Their whole defense was like, oh, we were just talking, you know how teenagers are.
Polly's lawyer even said that her death threats were like a cultural thing, something people say in Chinese culture.
The court didn't buy it. Too much evidence showing they meant it. I mean, they set the whole thing up, gave Yinwar all the info, kept pushing him to do it.
Guilty, both of them. Intentional incitement to murder. And same as Yinwar, they got the max. 2 years in juvenile detention, then 3 years in a TBS facility. The prosecutors actually tried to appeal the sentences. They thought Polly and Wesley should have been tried as adults, given how serious it was.
They were basically saying that the Dutch system, with all its focus on rehab, it wasn't enough in this case. But the appeals, they got denied. The court stuck with their focus on rehabilitation, thinking about how young they were and all that.
So Polly and Wesley served their time, then got out on probation. Pretty strict conditions, counseling, checking in with the authorities, that kind of thing.
And the reports, from probation, they were kind of positive, actually. Said Polly and Wesley, they were working on their issues, the emotional stuff, the anger. Said they were low risk to reoffend. So there's some hope there that they could turn things around.
Yinwar, he asked for early release, but at first they said no. They were worried about him, Impulsive, not much empathy, not really into the therapy. But after a while, a few years in the TBS place, he starts doing better.
Less risky behavior, better with his emotions. Seemed like he was actually trying with therapy. So the court, they let him out. But with conditions, of course.
Yeah, he had to check in with his probation officer all the time. No drugs or alcohol, keep a schedule, all of that. They could even, watch what he was doing online, check his money.
And people, they had a lot to say about Yinwar getting out. Some were like, no way, he's dangerous, he'll do it again. But others, they believe in second chances, rehabilitation.
Sadly, that's not the end of the story. Just a year later, Yinwar's in trouble again. This time, it's armed robbery.
Yeah, he and this other guy, they held up some dude at gunpoint, stole thousands of euros worth of computer stuff. Vincy's family, I can't even imagine, especially her dad, Chinam. He always said Yinwar was dangerous.
Chinam, he talked to reporters. He was, really disappointed, frustrated. Not surprised, though. He called Yinwar severely disturbed, hoped he'd be locked up forever.
It's tough, right? It makes you think about the whole system, about rehab.
Yeah.
How do you balance keeping people safe, holding people accountable, and still giving them a chance to change?
It also brings us back to, the whole bystander thing. The police, when they were investigating, they found out something really disturbing. A lot of people in Polly and Vincy's group, they knew about the plan, but they did nothing. Get this. 2 hours before Vincy was attacked, one of Yinwar's friends, he posts on Facebook saying, some girl's gonna die at 3 p.m. That day.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. And people saw it, reacted to it, but nobody called the cops. It's like, I don't know, maybe they just didn't get it, how serious it was.
I mean, how can you read something like that and not do anything? It's easier to just look away, right?
Yeah.
Pretend it's not happening. But they didn't say anything. And,
right.
well, it all happened.
It really makes you think, right? What is it about, I don't know, the way things are that makes violence seem normal, especially for young people? And how do we, help them to speak up when they see something bad happening?
Social media, it's a big part of this case, too. It made the whole Vincy Polly thing worse, and they even used it to, plan the attack.
Yeah, it's social media, right? Good and bad. It can connect people, but it can also be a breeding ground for all this negativity. Hate, bullying, even crime. We need to, talk about this more, how to use it the right way.
In this deep dive, it's been, I don't know, eye-opening, but man, it's heavy. It's hard to even think about what happened, how much pain those kids caused. What are your thoughts, overall?
This case, it's specific, right? This one girl, these people. But what it shows, it's about all of us. It reminds us that even small things, stupid arguments, they can get out of control fast. You have to see the warning signs, threats, anger getting worse, people being isolated. And the most important thing, if you see something, you got to say something. Don't just stand there. You could save someone's life.
So, to everyone listening, what can we learn from this? I think it shows how important it is to make things safer for young people. We need to teach them to understand each other, to talk about things, to, I don't know, hold each other accountable for what they say and what they do.
Totally. We all have a responsibility, right, to
Yeah.
make the world better. A place where violence isn't the answer, where young
Uh-huh.
people feel like they can speak up, where people can get help when they need it. This case, it might be over, but we have to keep talking about this stuff.
Well said. And with that, we'll leave you to, I don't know, think about this whole thing, about what happened and what we can do to make things better, to create a community where people care about each other. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.